Welcome to another episode of the Tapestry podcast. I am your host, Dr. Froswá Booker Drew, and I love doing this show because it's an opportunity to bring amazing guests to you where you can learn more about their journeys and how our stories are actually this wonderful web of just knowledge and nuggets of wisdom. And so today I have an amazing guest that I want to introduce you to, Tawnia Wise, who is someone that I've known for a number of years, and I'm delighted to have you here. And so I'm going to read Tanya's bio, and then we're going to start talking about this book and all the good things that you're doing. So Tawnia Wise is the founder and CEO of Wise Resource Development, a nonprofit consulting firm based in Dallas, Texas. Her dream of a career in social justice began as a reaction to growing up as a resident of Section 8 housing and a recipient of public benefits in the suburbs of Denver, Colorado. After spending nearly 2 decades helping nonprofits secure the resources needed to live out their missions, she wanted to deepen her commitment and passion by transforming nonprofits into more effective social justice agents. In 2014, Tawnia launched Wise and quickly became one of the most sought-after consultants in Dallas. Today, her firm is hired by funders to build capacity for startup organizations, by large nonprofits to supplement and support their in-house talent, and by nonprofits of all sizes to forge a dedicated partnership with a consultant who understands how to leverage their assets and strengths for fundraising success. Tanya's debut book, Become a Nonprofit Pro: Non-Common Pitfalls and How to Avoid Them, encompasses the most frequent advice and insights she gives to her clients who are looking to level up their organization's impact. Tawnia is part of a movement to transform, quote, sage from the stage, nonprofit consulting. By meeting organizations where they are with tactical support and strategic guidance, Wise helps them develop greater levels of efficiency and effectiveness. Tawnia, thank you for being here. I'm so
Thanks for having me.
So we'll get to this in a little bit, but I want to talk about your journey, because how did you get from being on Section 8 or in Section 8, having that life, being in Denver, to Dallas? What was the journey?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think, growing up where I did, I think that for me, it was a lot about wanting something different, something better. And I think I had the benefit of, being able to go to friends' houses and seeing how, they lived and their jobs and, kind of how they, built their lives and having that as examples. And so, at that age, I really wanted to be an attorney, and I thought I was going to go into social justice law and be an advocate and really focus on specifically children and children's needs. And so I still have a heart for that space. And so that really kind of led me down my path. My undergraduate degree was in psychology and political science, prepping the way for law school. But of course, life kind of took a different turn.
Doesn't do that.
While I was in college, I started working as an administrative assistant for a special events company. So I started getting special events experience. And, I always like to say that kind of led me to the next job, which led me to the next job, which, led me to the next job. And so I kind of joke by saying at that special events company, the CEO, the owner of the company, always called me her intern, which really irritated me because I thought, well, that would indicate like I want to do this for a career, and I don't. I'm the administrative assistant. I'm not your intern. But ultimately, the funny thing is that really did lead to my career, that job. And my first fundraising position was in special event fundraising. And so, really got to leverage that experience there. But, I wanted to leave Denver. So that's how I made it ultimately to Dallas. I think you either believe that you want to stay where you're from or you want to kind of see the world. And so my idea was I need to see the world. So I was in a U-Haul the day after I graduated from college.
You were
and
serious.
I was ready to move on to, a new place, and chose Oklahoma City, where I lived for 5 years. So that's where I started in nonprofit fundraising, doing special event fundraising for Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And really just felt like Oklahoma City wasn't the best fit for me, but started my master's program at OU, thinking, again, I'm going to start the public administration master's program and then ultimately go to law school. But then once I finished the master's program, I realized, no, I'm gonna stick with this whole nonprofit journey.
Your story is so much like mine. Wow.
I felt like for most of the part with people who do fundraising, they just kind of fall into it. It's not like, I think it's different now, maybe because there are career paths.
Yeah, and they have the
for
certifications and stuff now. Yeah.
But back then it was like you just kind of, stumble into it and realize it fits and you love it and, it's where you want to be. So.
And it's so interesting because my path was very similar. I wanted to be an attorney and I wanted to do constitutional law. I was like, I'm going to help people. I don't want to see injustice.
Yeah.
And I remember being at UT Austin on a Saturday at the law library. This guy comes up and he goes, look at us. Do you want to look like this? You're going to be miserable. And I was like, I'm done.
Wow.
I don't want to do this seriously. And I was like, I'm out. I'm not doing law because they look miserable. And then I went to school in Oklahoma City.
You did?
So I went to Oklahoma City University and did my master's there.
Okay.
So it's so interesting just seeing the path. And it's something because when you're young, you have this idea of I'm going to do this. And life has a way of just moving you to where you're supposed to be if you allow it.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm doing exactly what I was meant to do. My heart led me here, so I feel like, it's very similar where, I still feel like I get to meet my passions, my goals, my dream. It just looks different than I thought it was going to look.
Exactly. And so how did you end up starting a business? Because that's not easy. This entrepreneur life is something else. So talk about that.
Yeah, and I think so. Almost 10 years ago, about this time, I was working in house. We had actually met my last in-house position, and I had worked my way into that executive level position that I thought I wanted, that I was so driven toward. And I was a single mom. I have adopted my niece and nephew by birth. So I never had a co-parent or anybody that really helped in that. So it was really all on me. And it was just really, being at that executive table wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And it really didn't afford the life that I had hoped for in the environment that I wanted for my family. So I had two friends who were consultants, Amy Sheehan and Suzanne Smith, and they were working with us as consultants at in my role there. And so I reached out to them and I said, I want to be a consultant. So will you mentor me and show me how to get started? And both of them were like, oh, you don't want to be a consultant.
Really?
And I said, no, I'm serious. I'm going to do this. And so then they said, okay, we'll they were very gracious in giving me lots of tips. And I basically interviewed them for, lots of information on how to get started. And then I launched in February of, the following February. So it would be, now it's 2024 will be 10 years. So 2004 or 2014.
I can't believe it's been 10 years.
Yeah. And I think when I launched, again, single mom, not really a lot of resources. So what I did was I took my tax return and I thought, okay, I have enough money to get me through till June. So I have 4 months to make this work. And I reached out to all of my friends that worked in the nonprofit sector. And I said, hey, I'm going to start consulting. Can you throw me some projects, give me some referrals? And, most people were like, that's crazy. Are you sure? A lot of people tried to give me job opportunities because they thought I
don't want a job.
Exactly. I said, I'm doing this. I'm serious. I'm really going to be a consultant. Because what I really wanted was to do the work that I loved. So I loved like the pure strategy, the fundraising strategy. I loved grant writing. I loved, recruitment. There were parts of the job that I loved. And then when I started looking, because when I knew I had to leave the last position, I started looking at other job opportunities. And I really felt like I had worked my way into a salary and jobs where it was mostly national nonprofits, organizations that, weren't as grassroots. And I really wanted to be local. I wanted to contribute to some community change.
Yeah.
And so I thought, as a consultant, I get to do the work I love, and I get to give a piece of my time to organizations that couldn't afford to hire me as a staff person, but they could hire me as strategy
and
support.
You're giving all that that you have
and
to
being a
them.
value add, and to really feel like I can contribute to their mission. So that's what I loved about it. And I mean, luckily, my first 2 clients were Baylor and Susan G. Komen. So I had, from 2 people who I worked with previously that, brought me in for some project work. And then it just kind of went from there and has grown into a whole consultancy. So it really became more than I anticipated. I didn't think I would start a business with employees. I thought it would just be me, doing.
But you have blown up. I mean,
we got,
you've got big.
We became, a serious, consultancy that we have employees and, lots of different client projects. And it's been a journey. Definitely became bigger than what I had anticipated in the beginning.
What impressed me was, I'll never forget when I was at the fair. There was a funder who came to me and said, I know Tanya's work. And when we see her work, we pay attention. And that for me was like, I need Tawnia on my team to help these nonprofits. And you were so instrumental in helping a lot of these small grassroots nonprofits get funding where their budgets may have started off with, like $200,000 or less.
Yeah.
To see many of them now at $1 million+ is just mind blowing. And
exciting.
So I love to see what you've done to grow them and the kind of support that you've provided. But I know that you've had challenges because I've walked with several of them too. And I know some of the behind the scenes. People get to see, the beauty now, and they see the finished product, and they don't always see what happens. What are some of the biggest challenges that you've seen with nonprofits in this space that not saying names, but what have you seen?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think, to your point, it's the small grassroots, shoestring budget, really, mighty organizations doing big things with almost no money, with almost no resources. And I think, those are probably the organizations that we love to work with the most because, I think that we can demonstrate kind of just how to frame a budget to be able to secure more funding. Just small strategies to grow individual donor base, how to really elevate their case for support or the story that they tell to be more compelling and competitive. Even we can come in and advise on operational needs, programmatic needs. So I think that's the kind of our sweet spot is working with those startup organizations, founder-led organizations where they have the heart and not necessarily the background or knowledge of nonprofit operations.
Yes.
And so sometimes it's a small investment in us can do really big things for them. And that's when we can do that for organizations, that's so exciting. But I think I think it's just resources and it's access to resources and it's understanding how to gain that access, that we kind of bring that to the table. And to be really competitive, this is one thing that I talk about in the book, you have to have all 3 legs of your stool shored up: fundraising, operations, and programs. So we might come in for fundraising, which that's usually what we're hired for. but we're going to ask about your operations. We're going to pay attention to your financials and what story are they telling. We're going to pay attention to your programs. Are they proving impact? What are you measuring? So,
Right.
though we're going to not stay in our box or our lane around just the fundraising piece, because our goal is to make sure that organization is sustainable and that they can be competitive for funding. And so, it's really about making sure that their organization is strong on all fronts.
But I appreciate that you are looking at them beyond just writing a grant. Because a lot of people that are in this space, that's what they're doing. It's just, we're going to write a grant knowing that they're not going to get it because their measurements, are not great. They don't have outcomes. They may have, these outputs of we're doing these things, but it's not really moving the needle and creating impact. And the fact that you are holistic in your approach, that's why I've seen the success that's happened because of that. But a lot of that knowledge is what you've put into this book.
Yeah.
So Tawnia has just written her first book. And I'm so excited because I got a chance to preview it and say some words, and there's a chapter that I do some stuff in here. And so I'm so proud of it because I just love the fact that she allowed me an opportunity to speak into this. And so talk about this wonderful book of Become a Nonprofit Pro. What's in this?
Yeah, so this really is it's most of the advice that we give most frequently. So I kind of like to joke that this is kind of my my just grandstanding opportunity to be able to put down in writing everything that I feel like I say all the time. And the nice thing about this book, or what we hope for it, is that it spreads our impact. There are a lot of organizations out there that can't really afford to work with us. They can't hire a consultant. Or maybe they're just not ready for other reasons. And so this is an opportunity for us to say, here, read this book. This is, there's, tips in here that can get them to a place where they can, get to hire a consultant or get to, work with us or somebody else. So yeah, I think that's what's most exciting about it. It's kind of my soapbox of what I feel like nonprofits, really kind of the most common mistakes or pitfalls.
Talk about one of the most common mistakes that you put in the book.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I think the first one is really, believing that fundraising will solve all your problems.
That's a good one. Mic drop. That's the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, that is really huge. As I said, people hire us for fundraising consulting a lot of times for grant writing because we do have such great referral partners and funders who like our grant applications. So we get a lot of referrals for that. But we see grant writing as an assessment unto itself. So it gives us a window into operations and programs. And, so for instance, when we start working with a small, sometimes startup organization, it's really common for us to notice that their 990 is not filled out correctly. So that is an incredibly common situation. So we'll get to know the organization and look at their 990 and realize your CPA doesn't understand nonprofit accounting and why budgeting, you're putting the expenses in the right buckets on the 990, why that matters and what funders are looking at when they're reviewing this. So we'll say, there's no way that your organization is spending 54% of your expenses on administrative costs. So, let's have a conversation with your CPA so they understand why these bucketed expenses are important. So, it's really our opportunity to kind of pull back the hood, see what's going on, advise in those areas, operations, programs, because our goal is to make sure that it's the most competitive ask possible. And sometimes we'll find organizations just aren't ready to work with us. They're not ready to level up or take it to that next level. So that's where, we want to help. We're trying to help them be ready or level up. Another requirement that we have working with grant clients is we require that they cultivate relationships. And that's the other thing that we coach on is how do you talk to funders?
Because there's so much more than just writing the grant.
Right. And they have to do their part as well. We're not just kind of magic money makers. And I think that's the key is fundraising won't solve all your problems. You can't hire us and just assume that like we're going to, be a money tree and
money's just going to fall out the sky.
Exactly. Yeah. There you have a whole part of this and you have to, you have to be demonstrating why you are most qualified to be doing this work. And that means impactful programs. That means sustainable operations. So chapter 1 of the book talks about that. It talks about, fundraising isn't going to solve all your problems. It's a leg of the stool that keeps your mission, stable.
What's been your biggest success? If you look back and think about the work that you've done, what's been the thing that you go, yeah, we did that?
Oh, that is such a good question. I feel really proud of the work that we're doing with the South Dallas Employment Project. You are the one that brought us into that. We wrote the grant application that got the funding to start the centers, the sites. I think that is really significant. When we came to you asking for your advice on how we could plug into South Dallas, we were looking for a pro bono project that wouldn't just be like one-off opportunities to help one-off organizations. We wanted big impact. We wanted to be participating in systems change. And so I think South Dallas Employment Project, it's our opportunity to do that. And I think helping them get the funding
has been huge.
Yeah. And really seeing how that organization and that collaborative has evolved and grown and they're learning and, and kind of being part of that and getting to have a voice in it. I think, we're just beginning to see how that will, the impact of that. So I think I'm really proud of that. I think I'm really proud of being respected by the funders and having the voice of the funders and feeling like we have this really great, unique position of being an intermediary where we can almost like advocate on behalf of our clients to funders, talk about, their experience, whether it might be, here's what's happening with this grant application, here's how difficult it is to fill out, or here's the where the process might be struggling. Yeah. So
that you have that level of respect that they will take your call because there are people who cannot get in the room. And the fact that you're able to do that with so many different funders speaks volumes about your work, Tawnia.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a privilege. And so, we appreciate that. And we're very protective of that reputation. So,
well, I know the work and I've seen it. So 5 years from now, what is Tawnia Wise going to be doing?
Wow. My hope is that our company will have grown so that we're building leaders. I'm excited about that. We have a whole kind of growth strategy that will, I think, hopefully help us replicate potentially in other cities. So I want to see Wise Resource Development outlive me. And so I think building this leadership structure is going to help it do that. So that, my hope is that I can continue to kind of give others the platform within the company and that I can, continue to be part of it, but maybe cherry pick opportunities that I want to, be involved in, but really focus on helping to build the company and then also, continuing to spread our impact. I think that's really what I'm hoping for. And then for me, I want to travel more. I want to, my kids will both be either, kind of out of college. And so it'll be nice for me to have an opportunity to explore the world.
To do you.
Yeah. And just kind of, enjoy life. But ultimately, I want to, my legacy is I really want this company and the work that we do to outlive me. So,
but that's huge as well, Tawnia, because most people don't think about legacy in their business. They often think about the here and now, and they're not thinking about this pipeline. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that you've created a business that is helping organizations that you are creating legacy. And then you're also charitable in your work and helping create this systemic change. I think that's a template for a lot of businesses to think about what does it mean to not just make money and, live on that, but to create this pipeline for our clients, but also for the people, in community far beyond our existence. So if you were to think back on the little girl in Denver, what would you tell her that you know now that she didn't know? What advice would you share with her?
Oh, wow. That's such a good question. I think I would probably share to just appreciate every experience along the way and to know that it matters and it leads somewhere. And I think I would also really encourage her to just have confidence. And, I think I struggle like a lot of women do in, imposter syndrome and, kind of like, how did I get here? How did this all, and just knowing that, I've worked hard, you know what you're doing, you're capable, and just knowing that at a young age and just really having that encouragement. I don't know that I got that much from others. So if I could go back in time and give that to myself, I think that I would.
That I think for all of us would really have changed our trajectory. But you're doing it now for so many. I see the women that work for you and how you pour into their lives. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you get to do that for others is a gift.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's a gift that we don't always get it, but we get an opportunity to give it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have amazing people working at Wise. So, I'm really blessed, and we're building an incredible team of leaders.
And make an impact. So where can folks, one, get in contact with you, and how can they get the book?
Sure. Well, our website is www.wiseresourcedevelopment.com. The book is available on Amazon, really any book retailer. So you can order it on Barnes & Noble, also Target right now. So if you go to our website, we actually have some distributors that you can go online and get, or retailers that you can go online and order the book from. So.
And your social media handles?
So we have, we're at Wise Resource Development for Facebook. Instagram is, I believe, Wise Resource Development. But you can find them on our website. I'm terrible with social media the handles. LinkedIn, follow us on LinkedIn at Wise Resource Development as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, Tawnia, thank you for being here. I love what you're doing, and I'm so excited about this book. And I hope folks will go out and get it, because I've had a chance to look at it and go through it, and it's got some really good content. So I hope the audience will take advantage of your wisdom and all these years of experience that you put into this labor of love. And so this has been another episode of the Tapestry podcast. Thank you for being here. And I just want to say thank you for watching. And also I want to thank ISP Creative, because they are the ones who make this happen. So stay tuned for another episode to come.